All right, so a student union on Saturday suspended a call for the total shutdown of universities. This follows a deal that was brokered during a marathon meeting with the Department of Higher Education, Science and Technology Minister Dr. Nzimande, as well as Universities South Africa, which is a body representing about 26 public universities, vice-chancellors. So they met with the students on Friday and managed to avoid the shutdown. Students had demanded, amongst other things, the eradication of historical debt, free registration for the poor, and the revision of guidelines for accreditation of student accommodation. The union has reached an agreement now with the Department of Higher Education to, amongst other things, allow students with outstanding debt to register and establish funding for postgraduates. University South Africa's Chief Executive Officer, Professor Ahmed Bawa, was part of that meeting, and he joins us now live in studio. Good afternoon to you, Prof. Good to see you in the new year.
Thank you for having me again.
All right, so let's just look at the demands, really. There was a whole list of long demands, I think about 13 of them that the students wanted. Are we going back to the days of the feast must fall now?
No, there were 15 demands, and we worked through each one of them. And interestingly, we've certainly made a lot of progress since the 2015 to 2017 period. I mean, clearly, the challenge, the major challenge that has been attained between then and now is the issue of the DHET bursary being available for students who come from poor and working class families. So that is now in operation. It's working well. There's still some niggling challenges, but basically it's a fairly successful system. And what that means essentially is that any young person from a South African home where the family income is below 350,000, if they get if they're offered a place at a university, that's it. They are in. There's no challenge.
Talking about that issue, we had the union in studio last week, and part of what they were saying is that, listen, you may have a household worth more than 350,000, but you find that there are two children who go to university from that particular family.
So that's a really big systemic challenge that we have, which is what we refer to as the missing middle. And that's still a challenge. We have no system in place at the moment nationally to deal with that, with the plight of those students. But what we did do on Friday was agree with the minister that during this year, that we'll have a big national process to try and understand how to address that issue. The bottom line is, if we don't address that issue, then a whole range of other issues kick in, like the student debt issue and so on, which is really the major challenge.
And we know that the issue of a historical debt has always been a very thorny one from the years back, 2015, 2017. Why are we still finding ourselves here? Why has it not been resolved?
So interestingly, of course, the challenge is slightly less than it was then, and mainly because the department, together with Treasury and so on, have really come to the party, and they've really kind of addressed the issue of the debt of students who used to be NSFAS grantees. So that's now wiped out. There's no challenge with that. The only challenge now is to get students to sign what are called acknowledgement of debt forms. Once they do that, then there's no challenge about their registration. So it takes us back to the question that you raised earlier, which is the issue of the missing middle. And so the debt problem now is really a debt problem that affects that group of students.
All of them.
And we don't have a solution to that.
So we also had an SRC member from the University of South Africa. They also had their concerns, really, that in most cases they are not provided with the necessary funding to further their studies. Has that one been resolved as well?
Well, again, what they do receive, of course, those who qualify, they do receive enough to cover their tuition costs and book allowances and so on. What they don't receive are student accommodation costs and living allowances. But that's because UNISA is a distance education institution. Now, of course, our students are arguing that the composition of the student body at UNISA has changed, and therefore there needs to be a change in the approach.
So it doesn't cater for the working class anymore. That's their argument.
Yeah, except that with the working class, you mean people who are at work. Yes, and well, not just for people who are at work. I'm a graduate of UNISA, so I have a very particular kind of passion for UNISA. So I think that is a challenge which we have to face.
Yeah. All right. So a number of universities were closed for the duration of the shutdown last week. What reports have you received?
So,
is everything operational? All of them are operational now?
So at the moment, there were at the end of last week, there were 3 universities that were affected. It was one campus of Northwest University, UKZN, and the
University of the Free State as well?
University of Free State, there were still negotiations going on, so it wasn't actually shut down. So at the moment, as we speak now, things seem to be fairly kind of normal. We are still worried about UKZN because there it wasn't just the fact that there were demonstrations, there was also kind of violence and arson and so on. Yeah. So we are very worried about that situation.
All right. But speaking for all the universities, the 26 universities, are you happy with the outcomes of the meeting? Because part of what you were saying earlier on is that now the Department of Higher Education and the Treasury have to work together in making the agreement a reality.
Yeah, we are, first of all, I mean, there are some systemic issues which we're going to have to deal with. One of them is clearly the issue of debt, just student debt. But each university has got some system in place to try and assist students who have debt. Now, I don't think they'll be able to solve, the problem for every student, but certainly succeeding students will be assisted, I think. And of course, it depends on the university because some universities have more resources than others and so on. But and the other big issue is the issue of student accommodation. There just isn't enough student accommodation. But these aren't problems that are going to be solved immediately. They're going to take some while to solve.
And I suppose the fact that now we're seeing an increase in the matric rate, in the matric pass rate, this automatically means that we may be short of some space at universities?
Yeah, I don't think that we're short for spaces at the moment. I mean, I think that at the moment we have an intake of about 210,000 or something like that. And, we don't think that there's a big kind of gap between the supply and demand, if you like. I mean, I hate using the business terms. But there appears to be at this stage sufficient places for students who want to study.
But the question is, those who are already in the system, are they moving to create space for the newcomers?
Yes, and of course that's a big challenge. What we have at the moment is throughput rate. That's so if you're looking at the students who are graduating over a 5-year period, 6-year period and so on, what we are finding is that we have got a throughput rate of about 60%. That's not, it's not brilliant, but it's not terribly bad either. So certainly students are graduating and making space for students that are coming in. But what we also, I think our biggest challenge really is to try and understand how to get a much better functioning TVET sector as well, so that the intake into the post-school education and training system is much broader. In that system, we have about 420,000 places, which will be more than enough, in fact.
But part of what is also a concern, I had an interview with the vice-chancellor for the university in the Eastern Cape, who was basically saying that, look, we're sitting with a huge problem of the high dropout rate of tertiary institutions learners. And the question really is, how is our universities helping them? Because they drop out due to a number of factors. It's not just one fact.
So, look, there are two sides to this. I mean, the one is clearly the academic side. And from our evidence, there's been a kind of a continuous growth over the last 5 to 6 years in the throughput rate. Now, it's not, as I want to emphasize, it's not brilliant yet, but certainly the average over the sector is about 60%, which is, and there's space to improve, definitely. There's the other side, of course, which is the issue around I hate using the term dropouts, but students who drop out of the system because of financial reasons, for example. Now, we don't know yet what the impact of the new bursary system is going to be. But I think many of us suspect that we'll begin to see a decline in that dropout rate, if you like.
But the universities, are they capacitated enough to deal with? There was a conversation that we had at the beginning of the year in terms of the support that the first year students should be given by the institutions alone. Do we have those in place, the necessary support? So
I think that the universities are doing much better now than they were doing, say, 5 years ago and 10 years ago. And by the way, it's a partnership between DHET and the universities. DHET has got a program in place which is called the University Capacity Development Program, which is aimed specifically at improving the throughput rate. It's a significant amount of resources. And I think, we think that there's a lot of progress being made. Clearly, there's room for improvement. But I think that there's progress being made, yeah.
All right. Yeah. All right, Prof, we have to leave it at that, time constraints, but thank you so much for coming.
It's a pleasure, and thank you so much.
Well, there you have it. That's Professor Ahmed Bawa from the University of South Africa talking to us about a deal that's been brokered between the union representing the students and the Department of Higher Training. That, of course, meant that the total shutdown has been suspended by the union.